let's talk about how to construct your own division design. So one of the common questions I get in my Discord all the time is, what is the best division for X, Y, and Z? Example, what's the best infantry template for Germany? What's the best tank template for France? Etc, etc, etc. I don't want to spoon feed you guys. I don't want to be like, this is the template, this is the one you need to go with, build this one. No, I think you guys need to be learning how to play the game, all right? So first of all, let's just summarize the different types of divisions. In short, you kind of have an infantry template that holds the front line that doesn't really get involved much in combat other than defensive purposes, just to hold the front line. Then you have an attacking template, which tends to be more towards soft attack or breakthrough or armor, like a tank division template. And then a lot of the time you've got kind of like a garrison division template as well. We'll focus on each of these three. We'll start with the easiest first. Let's talk about a garrison template. The easiest and simplest garrisons in 9 times out of 10 that you'll ever need is this. This is the best garrison template. There you go. There's not much about it. If you want to save equipment though, you can add on MP, but due to the way it's calculated, just trust me on this one, the bigger you make the division, the more equipment that you'll get refunded. However, based on the occupation law, they will resist in the same way. The only difference is the bigger that you make this division with MP attached onto it, the less equipment that you will need, aka guns and support equipment. And the best template overall when it comes down to adding on MP to be the most cost effective, repeat, cost effective, is this division, the 50 width MP. You see a lot of people in multiplayer game doing this. You should only really do this is if you've got excess experience though. There is a officer corps for that, I think. There you go, the proper heritage. It's more cost effective to go for proper heritage and then build the division from there because it makes horses free. That way you'll save a little bit of XP, but overall you'll never be using proper heritage for anything other than building an MP template. There is 2 other variations of this. You add on a light tank and you make a really light tank on there as well. It's more effective because it has more hardness. Hardness basically means that this division will take less damage when it's doing a garrison job, and therefore, as you can see, the hardness is getting higher and higher and higher. It's not cheap. It's not really that effective in my honest opinion. It's one of those situations where you have so much military factories, you just don't know what to do with them anymore, so this is what you would go with. All right, next up, let's talk about the best frontline infantry division. The truth is, it's practically this. The start one you get for Germany is it. This is the best template for holding the front line. The truth is, this division is mainly going to be used for defensive purposes, hence the reason why you've got an engineer on there. It's holding the front line. Most of the time, this division will be fighting other infantry. In this case, an artillery will just give it that extra edge. But overall, any division size between 15 and 30 would be an ideal division size to hold the front line. If you wanted to battle plan, you could add on more soft attack to therefore push the front line. But at that point, you're moving beyond 30 combat width. Because remember, we're making a division here that's mainly for holding the front line and just holding the front and defending. Remember, it's not an attacking division. Now, if we're talking about attacking division, we can think about division combat widths that are larger, between 30 and 45. In that case, we could go all the way up to something like this. This would be work for an attacking division. Then you can think more about support companies as well. For instance, because it's such a big division, logistics would be very helpful. Support AA would be required too, because you will be fighting CAS more frequently as well. So this would be quite helpful too. One other thing you could say about this infantry to hold the front line too is it would be helpful to have support AA. This will pierce some really crappy tanks, which will hold the front line better, and also deny CAS spam by reducing CAS damage by something like 40% by having one support AA on. So this ideally is the best frontline infantry to hold the front line. If you have got excess manpower or excess infantry equipment, you can slightly make it bigger. To be fair, there's not really much point going over the 20 combat width for an infantry division that's going to be holding the front line and won't participate in much combat. It's just mainly for holding for defensive purposes. What's the best division for holding the front line and not actively participating in combat? Something like this. Remember, think Barbarossa, because you're going to be making so many of these divisions just to hold the front line, you want them to be cheap. Remember, it's not a division for attacking purposes, it's a division just to hold the front line. Attacking infantry is the next thing. So as I mentioned to you, adding artillery on for the extra soft attack to break other infantry is going to be useful. You're going to need a decent amount of AA too. Probably a battalion of AA would be useful as well. Just get enough AA so you can actually start fighting and shooting down CAS. Overall, maintenance companies could be useful in the event that you have a kind of tight economy and you don't have that many military factories. This is how you have to play it by ear in Hoi 4, guys. You can't just say, oh, this will work for every country. It's not the way the game works. Sometimes you're playing a country that doesn't have a lot of chromium, and because of that, you'll be limited to how many heavy tanks you can produce. You have to play it by ear, play it by the country you're playing as, adapt to different circumstances. Logistics is definitely a must. Personally, I don't feel so strong about the engineer if it's attacking division, and I suppose in this case you can go anything between 30 width and 45. A lot of people like to min-max combat width. Since they've changed the way that combat width works, you don't need to min-max it as much as you used to. Everyone likes to be a combat width purist, but the truth is now the difference between different combat widths isn't that massive. Now listen to me. If you want to specifically min-max your combat width, please go ahead. But the tend of people who ask for the best division don't tend to be the people that need to min-max combat width as much. In most cases, if it's attacking division, anything between 30 and 45 will do great. For holding a front line, anything from 10 width to 20 width to 30 width will be totally okay. In this case, this probably would be satisfactory, to be honest with you. Decent soft attack, decent defense. You've got a little bit of piercing. You're reducing your overall combat size. This division will push the front line. You can even make encirclements if you're a little bit smart about it in the long run. But overall, this is a good division for infantry that specifically is attacking. Try and understand, you might have excess XP early game. There's not a lot of wars happening. So in that case, you might start with a smaller division, but over time, you'll add more to it as combat starts to scale up. You don't make your most ideal division template at the start of the game. You build it up as time goes on. Don't forget, when you add something new onto the division, just hover over it and double check if you've got the equipment. Right now, we don't have enough infantry equipment, towed artillery, anti-air, support equipment, or even trucks. So to be fair, this isn't really a good idea to add on right now because you're going to be low strength, therefore you'll take more damage in combat. So it's really not worth it, and you'll not take advantage of it. So my honest truth is just try and get the equipment first and then take care of that later. I guess we'll start to talk a little bit more about pushing divisions, attack divisions. This process is a little bit trickier because there's a few mistakes you can make when making a tank division that can cause the division just plainly not to work. The first mistake you make is organization. You really don't want to be going below 40 organization. You can get away with 30 organization, but any less than that, this division won't fight for very long, and therefore it'll stop its attack or its defense, and therefore will possibly break really easily. My fairness, you want to add on more infantry. So this is classed as mobile infantry, cavalry, motorized, mechanized, classed as mobile infantry, which adds on more organization. You can get more organization from advisors, you can get more organization from national focus trees, but the most common places of getting organization as Germany is to get it through doctrines. Mobile warfare will give you access to more organization. And to be fair, all of the doctrines give you more organization, but mobile warfare obviously gives more organization, specifically for attacking tank style divisions. When it comes to a perfect tank division, you're always wanting a balance between breakthrough, armor, and soft attack, with soft attack falling off more late game. When you're doing a Barbarossa situation, soft attack doesn't matter as much anymore because you've got so much armor and breakthrough and hardness on your division, it won't really matter. But only thing you need to focus on and concentrate on, I'll say it again, is try and get the organization to at least 40. Once again, if you're not a noob and you feel like you can command your tank divisions and micro them quite well, you can probably get away with 30 org, but please don't go less than 30 organization. In this circumstance, I don't think you need engineers on. Engineers only give you that movement speed on rivers. It will give you attack bonuses more late game, but you need the engineer 2, 3, 4 for that, which I don't think is required early game. Overall, because this is a light tank division, soft attack is going to be quite useful, so I'll probably add that on as well. For the most part, you want a little bit AA and probably a little bit of soft attack because it is light tanks as well. So overall, I'm adding on a battalion of artillery, motorized, and artillery anti-air. Probably another anti-air on there as well. Once again, speed for the motorized recon. If you focus on speed, you can add that on if you want it, but I don't think it's really necessary in this circumstance. This is a totally fine 1930s German tank division. Once again, you've got decent organization, you've got soft attack so you can bite, and it's overall got the breakthrough. Overall, the armor is a little bit on the low end, probably because the tank design is not very good. Remember, this is more of a 1930s style tank, so you guys are screaming in the comments right now, tell me where's the mediums and where the heavies. Well, it's best off as Germany start on your lights, then progress more towards mediums. Make what you want to make, but try and understand that it's going to be more difficult to get at least a few 30 width tank divisions before 1939 Danziger War, so therefore it might be a little bit harder to focus on the lights that you've got. You get a lot of lights from Czechoslovakia, and you start the game with quite a lot of lights. So now as you progress further into the game, so we've got a magically imagine we're in 1940 now, we don't actually need that extra soft attack because medium tanks have lots of decent firepower. Medium tanks have got lots of breakthrough, lots of hardness, and lots of armor, and the result of that will overall work out to a division that doesn't need to rely as much on soft attack. And because you're going to be more progressing down your doctrines too, you more likely have Blitzkrieg unlocked as well. Modern Blitzkrieg. Boom. Once again, make a tank that you think is best for you. When you want to focus on speed or you want to focus more on armor, you've got to get a balance between the two. So I always like sloped armor and armor skirts, and I always like to max out the armor. There's a certain level of customization with this game where I feel like you can make something that matches your flavor and that you think you enjoy the most. Because I know a lot of you guys like to role play, like, oh, I want to play a historical tank division as Germany. Hey, feel free to do that. Just do that, okay? But try and understand there are certain rules that you need to do, like avoiding dropping your org too low, avoid keeping your speed up, whatever you prefer anyway. Anyway, this is the division we've got. As you can see now, because we've got more mobile warfare doctrines, our organization is super high, so we can knock off some infantry and add on more tanks. And you can see like 43 organization. This is probably the threshold. And overall, this is a really, really decent division. Now the division is getting very chunky. It's very big, so logistics is required. And once again, if you are focusing on speed, motorized recon will probably be useful. If you want the speed moving over rivers, engineer would be kind of useful. But once again, you don't really want to add the engineers on for an attacking division until like you've got Engineer 3, which you get starting to get the better attack and defensive bonuses. Overall, that is a very, very, very good division. You've got fantastic armor, you've got fantastic breakthrough, you've got fantastic hardness, and overall, it's got lots of anti-air capabilities. This is a fantastic 1940s tank division. So another question that people are asking me is, how would you make a heavy tank any different with this one? You wouldn't. You wouldn't. You wouldn't. A heavy tank would be exactly the same. Just to take into account with a heavy tank, it works out overall more expensive, as you would imagine. Bigger boys require bigger factories, and overall, this is basically it. You make the medium tank division just like the heavy tank division. Once again, you make it how you prefer. There is no real difference between a medium and a heavy. Pros and cons of the heavy. Cons, it's more heavy and more expensive, and overall, you get more hardness, armor, and potential breakthrough. Once again, this tank is centric around just using steel, which is really good for Germany. If you start needing a lot of tungsten imports, it's going to really hurt you, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to get that from Portugal. So hence the reason why going for those big turrets that people really love to use is probably not a good idea as Germany. The only really access to chromium you've got at the start of the game, I guess you get it from France if you're really desperate, but you could get it from Macedonia or the Soviet Union. But the truth is, they're the only real options you've got. So hence the reason why heavies tends to be a little bit more difficult as Germany. Don't get me wrong though, the extra hardness the division's got for a heavy is actually really, really good. And be aware, the bigger the divisions you make, the more supply issues you're going to have. And if you're in an area that has supply problems, such as, I don't know, Central Asia or India or China, it might not be the best idea to not actually do that. So here's the game mechanic that I think a lot of people really struggle to get their head behind. Understand that infantry, which is leg infantry and motorized infantry, they're the same thing technically, is they add HP and organization to the division. They add it. Organization is how long you fight for until you stop the attack, or until how long you defend for until you have to run away. HP represents when this division takes damage, how much manpower and equipment is lost in the process. Hence, the division with 25 HP will result in some really hefty manpower and equipment losses. But when you get higher HP, you get more of that. So in this case, as you can see, as I'm adding more and more infantry on, the organization is 90, so we're going to fight for a really long time, and the HP is getting higher, resulting overall with a division that will fight for as long as it can before it breaks. But overall, then we start adding tanks on. Tanks do the exact opposite. Tanks remove HP and remove organization. So that's the reason why you've got this balancing act between getting the tanks, which have the firepower, but the infantry that have the organization and the HP. And that's what a lot of people get confused about. Like, it's the idea of you have to do the balance between the both. Just imagine in your mind, it's kind of like the first doctrines of tanks was to have tank divisions that just consisted just of pure tanks. They were undefended by infantry. And the result of that is they got encircled, and in Finland, they got hit by Molotov cocktails. To try and represent the tank doctrine is better when infantry are defending it. Hence the reason why they've got those mechanics built into the game the way they are. So as you can see in this circumstance, as I'm adding these boys on, they've only got 17 organization, which is okay, I guess, but the HP 16, basically meaning that this division, when it takes losses, is going to lose so many tanks. So many. You never really want to do this, but overall, I mean, it's going to have some amazing firepower. I guess with this kind of tank, you either win and you take very little losses, or you lose and you basically bleed thousands upon thousands of tanks. So this is an alternative to a division that can attack and do damage. So you're getting that balance between soft attack and breakthrough. So this would be like a substitute for a tank division if you can't afford tanks, I guess, but this division is still expensive, so I don't know if it's really worth it. A lot of the time, tanks give you so many good benefits, it feels like they're always worth to make over making something janky like this. And a lot of you guys probably really love to have rocket artillery added onto this. These divisions work like tanks, the artillery ones. They do the same thing, they remove org. So questions, are very typical questions is like, what if I'm playing a nation that's a lot smaller, doesn't have a lot of manpower? What if I'm playing a small nation that doesn't have a lot of military factories? You just make all these divisions smaller. That's it, really. I'll admit, though, that if you go in below 20 combat width for an attacking tank division like this, it defeats the purpose of it. To be fair, if you're playing a small Balkan nation, you want to focus on like an artillery attack style infantry over making a motorized or a tank-based one. You scale them based on how much production you've actually got. So, for instance, the medium tanks, you check if you've got any medium tanks in the stockpile. In this case, we're going to need 1,410 medium tanks. Probably not the best thing to add this on, because at the end of the day, you're not going to take advantage of the stats because you've not got the tanks to actually supply these into the divisions. The rule of thumb of combat width is don't go below 10 and don't go above 45. Don't worry about it. So the final thing that a lot of you guys are screaming about in the comments is, what about flame tanks? I mean, flame tanks just work the same way. I mean, they're obviously a great addition. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like a bit of a no-brainer. I mean, yeah, flame tanks are good in all circumstances, particularly for attacking divisions. I don't think you'd add them on for defensive divisions, but overall, yeah, it's basically an engineer that has really good attack. I want to teach you how to fish. I don't want to give you the fish. I want to teach you how to fish. I guess I'm a little bit sick and tired of the question is, what is the best X division. The question is not what is the best division, it's how do you build the division that I need? That's the better question. No, give me the fish. Well, that's your problem, my dude. I think the biggest issue with these kind of divisions is they lack the firepower, breakthrough, and soft attack to actually make breakthroughs. Don't get me wrong, they're very fast though. Very, very, very speedy. Zoom, zoom. Problem is that this division is really not good for holding the front line because it's too expensive. I know there's a lot of people in the comments probably going to be saying things like, oh, but I look at the division design and these numbers, blah, blah, blah. Some of them are higher than others, blah, blah, blah. I need you guys to load the game up sometimes and actually play around with these numbers because sometimes I get a lot of comments on my videos that don't make a lot of sense because it feels like it's people who are reading the wiki and looking at these numbers and not actually playing the game. Remember, the only real advantage of motorized is it's faster and it adds breakthrough. So yes, if you have a tank division that's very slow, you can just have infantry added onto it. I want you guys to build divisions. Probably refrain from like, what is the best division for X, Y, and Z? Instead of asking that question in future, I'm gonna link this video and then you guys will be like, oh, this is how you make the perfect division for what I need to do. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I love you. You think this video was good? Well, this one is the final form. Click it.